Okay. Hello and welcome everyone to another Foreman community demo. So first of all, as we are live, if you have any questions during the demo, feel free to reach out to us on the Foreman channel on Freenode IRC or on the YouTube live chat, as both will be monitored. And if you have any problems with buffering while watching this live stream, just drop a comment to us on the YouTube live chat or in Freenode IRC, and you're welcome to join us here in the Google Meet. Before we begin, we just have a few short announcements. So first of all, we have some updates around the lineup of the upcoming Foreman birthday party. Earlier this week, Dirk announced the first 2 talks. So first of all, Dana Singletary from the Red Hat Product Management will give another Red Hat roadmap update to the community and answer any questions that you might have. Dana has given previous roadmap updates to the Foreman community over the last few years, both in person at our last in-person Foreman birthday party and several sessions during 2020 on YouTube with myself. This session will provide some insight into where Red Hat is focusing its attention for the foreseeable future. And the other talk is from Lukasz Zapletal, who you might know as LZAP, on the community discourse, and he will be giving a talk titled The Story of the Webhooks plugin. This talk will be a mix of technical aspects of the new Foreman webhooks feature, and also it'll be about a community success story, apparently, so you have that to look forward to. We still have an open call for other talks, so if there's any talk you'd either like to give or you'd like to hear, some aspect of Foreman you'd like to hear more about, let us know. And for more information, check out the Foreman birthday party on the events section of our community discourse, and you can find the link to that in our video description. But most importantly, please mark your calendar and join us on July 1st to celebrate Foreman's 12th birthday. So next up, on the release side of things, since the last time we met, Katello 4.0 was released. This release was a major milestone, and a big thank you to everyone who raised issues, asked questions, and contributed to make this release a success. You can find out more about the release on our community discourse. And then on the Foreman side, I checked just before I went live and I hadn't seen an update, but the team is currently working on the first release candidate for Foreman 2.5. They have branched, so keep a lookout for the release announcement for the release candidate. And when the time comes, please evaluate the release candidate to make sure that the release is as stable as possible. It's, shall we say, imminent. And that's all from me for now. So our first demo today is from Maria. Maria has been working on the host details page redesign. You might remember that there were earlier calls for feedback, but she has some updates for us. So Maria, you're very welcome to the demo, and let us know what you've been up to.
So thank you very much. I'm very glad I'm here with you. So let me share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you very much. So today I would like to give you a short walkthrough my designs for Summit that were presented at Summit 2021. So it's very recent. And I will be presenting just 2 parts of this redesign of host detail page. So currently we are trying to combine host detail page plus the other host detail page, which we are trying to unify it finally. So what I would like to do is to ask you questions, but as this is a stream, you have not many opportunities to answer me. So I prepared for you links for my mockups, which you should find under the stream, and also a link for my survey I would love you to fill out. Plus, if you see anything you would like to comment, drop a comment next to the stream or just email me and anytime, even though if you are not watching this live, email me anytime I'm just so hungry for feedback. Or just, whatever. So firstly, I would love to show you our overview page for host detail page. So we have a host that is called Powerpuff Girl, and you see all these cards. So for now, we have host status card, which is aggregated status card. So if you click on it, and you can see it in my mocks, you can actually manage or modify your statuses. Then we have details card. I would really love to know if these details that I'm showing directly in overview, if they have any value to you. We have also other details are in this tab called details. But right now we are showing IP address, MAC address, host group, host owner, UUID, and comment. Do you think should there be anything else, like directly in overview page, because in overview tab, because this is going to be a landing page for your host. If you click on specific host, you will get directly here. So about other cards, we have recent communication where you can see last check-ins, content view details. You can also take some actions from this kebab menu, install errata, recent jobs. You can switch between finished, scheduled, and running jobs. You see just the current one, the most recent ones, but you can also go to the jobs page. So you are free to discover all these jobs. Plus the recent audit and host collection. This is mainly for Katello users, but we have also a version for non-Katello users. My question is, do you think should there be any other card or any other information? Because we see this is a global status next to the name of the host. We have also architecture plus the creator of the host. Is there anything else? Please tell me. There are some interaction, so you can copy MAC address, or you can see more details about finished jobs or other presented information. So this is, for example, overview for detail page without Katello content. So there is still recent communication, there is still details card, and also host status card. So this would be for the overview tab. In my mocks, you can also see more about status card, but we don't really have that much time for it. So let me jump directly to content tab. So currently, we are using, how to put it, horrible information architecture for packages, errata, module stream, and for the entire content. So we were inspired by Insights and how they actually structure the entire host with its content. So we are simulating their structure. So for errata, we are adding severity column, and also we are using different nomenclature. So we are using synopsis and I believe publish date instead of something else. I don't recall it right now. So we changed also the order of the columns, and we split some of them. We have expandable rows with extra information. For example, for the very first errata, you can see number of CVs. If it's blue, it's in majority of cases, it's a link which will either give you more information or it will open an extra tab for you with right now with a list of CVs. So, and you can see also actions here. Yeah, so right now we actually apply two different filters. You will still have an option to filter by using your search string with different operators, but also to have a quicker option. So if you press type, I don't have it mocked up, sorry for that. So if you press type, you will see different types and you can filter by it. I think that's pretty straightforward. So packages. Again, packages are designed after patch from inside. So we are adding installed version and latest version. Does it have any value for you? Do you think it's valuable? Plus, what's more, in current implementation, we have like three different tables for installed packages, for package actions, and also for upgradable packages. I combined them into one simple table where you can see upgradable and up to date. If it's up to date, it's installed. But you see also that it's up to date. Do you miss any information here? So I have one more question about this packages tab. So this filter, we are using filter for all and for upgradable. We are not using filter for up-to-date or installed packages. Is there any use case when you want to filter just by up-to-date, just by installed packages? This is also very similar to patch in insights, and you will still have an option to filter by it through this search bar. But should we also add it here? Tell me, please. So, my lovely module streams, if you are a user of module streams, please write me a message. I need to talk to you. There are not so many module stream users that I know, and I would really love some feedback for this. So again, we separated two different columns. Right now we have like name for the module stream, state, stream, installation status, installed profile. I'm really interested on your opinion about combinations of installation status and state, and also installed profile. You can see in installation status, we are using the similar up-to-date upgradable icons and nomenclature as well as in packages. But there are also other options like not installed or installed. If it's disabled, it should be. And it is also installed. I believe we can't really say it's up to date because it's disabled and it can't be upgraded. Yeah, but as I said, please drop me a message or email or whatever. I would really love to talk to you also about different actions that can be done here in this page. So we have install, update, enable, disable, reset, and remove. And for a couple of them, we have also description. And I would like to know if this description I am providing, if it's necessary or if it has any value to you. What's more, there would be also confirmation model with more information about that specific action. Yeah, and I think that's kind of all I have for now. So, are there any questions in chat?
So far, there are no questions, but we're always, slightly behind the stream, Maria. So thank you very much, Maria, for that. Does anyone have any questions for Maria? See. So I can also just post a link to the survey into the chat. Just give me 1 second. I have it handy. So I'm just posting this to YouTube. So if anyone would like to fill that out, that would be of great help. If anyone has any thoughts or questions for Maria as we proceed with the demos as well, if you're just catching up, feel free to ask. But for now, I don't see anything, Maria. So thank you very much for coming along today. So up next will be Dominic, and Dominic has three separate demos for us today. So a report for job invocation results on hosts, and the ability to disable types of boot disks, and also about another one about boot disks, moving links of general and subnet boot disks. So if there are any questions, we can look at them after Dominic's demo as well, if you'd like to get ready, Dominic, in your own time.
Yes, I'm ready. So hello, my name is Dominic, and I would like to show 3 nice things that I finished recently. The first one is about job invocations, and the second and third one is about the boot disks. So I will start with the first one. The first one is, as I said, it's tied with job invocations, and if you are right now, I am trying to share some example job invocations. So can you see that?
I can.
Okay, excellent. So there is a new button. It's called a create report, and that means that if I hit that button, it redirects me to the very similar form that is creating some there's creating some report template, and this report shows the outputs from job invocations for every host. So there is a job ID. The job ID is ID of the job invocation. So you can access this report from the job invocation as I show, or you can take the report templates and then just find the job invocation and job invocation report, and you will be redirected to the same page. But you have to type the job ID, so it's much easier to invoke it from job invocation. Also, if it's taking of the hosts, you can filter a hosts. So right now I have only one, but you can filter the host by common fields like what kind of class it is, if it has IP or MAC, and so on. And then when you type the submit, it will create a job invocation for it. It takes the outputs from task behind the job invocation for every host, and then these outputs will put to the file. For example, right now it will be CSV, and this will be prepared in the report, and then you can download this report. And this report looks like, I will share around my window. Okay. I'd like to share my screen. It looks like this. So this is a CSV. Open it in the LibreOffice. So it's like a table.
You make that a bit bigger, or maybe not.
Yes, I will try. It is better right now.
It's still small. I suppose it depends on whether you.
Okay.
Yeah,
right now it will be better.
That looks healthy. Yeah.
Okay, so this is an example of the job invocation report. So I have the host, I have the result of the task, so it was a success. I have the type, what kind of type of output it is. So it could be out, means standard output. It could be standard st debug, so that means standard debug, or it could be error, so standard error. And there is a message of that output. So as you can see, it's just the output of running Ansible that is getting some facts. I think it's a playbook, but I'm not sure because I'm not a big user of Ansible. Anyway, that was the first one, my demo. The next one will be in Foreman, and it will be, I will prepare it. Okay, it will be better. Can you see my screen again in Foreman or not?
Yep.
Okay, so right now I am in settings, and when you have installed a bootdisk plugin, there is a new option for settings. It's called allow with bootdisk types. That means that there is 4 types of bootdisk. It's a generic one, subnet one, host one, and full host one. The full host one is most more tailored to the host. And then we have the more generic for hosts, the host one. And then we have bootdisk tailored to the subnet host, for the host for some subnet. So it's a subnet one. And then we have most generic bootdisk, the generic one. And we can just disable them very simply by just removing their name in the settings. So I will disable only the host one, not the full host one. I will save it. Okay, it's little slower than I expect. Right. And then when I go to some hosts, because that's where the boot list links are. Come on. Excellent. First one. I have the bootdisk button there, and when I hit it, I have only the full host image. I can only download the full host image there. And there is some difference from older versions because I disable only the host image. That means that should be shown there on not only full host image, but also the subnet and generic one. But there is a, but they are not there. That's because, and that's the third improvement, they are moved to the subnet page. Because, well, this downloading the subnet image from the host page is not ideal, we think. So we are moving to the subnet page because it's a subnet image. So you can download it from this place. And also, where is the generic button? The generic image you can download is there, because it's much more closer to the subnets rather than to the hosts, because it's a very generic image that can be used across your Foreman instance. And for now, that's all from me. So I hope you are enjoying our new things, and if you have some comments or questions, just ask in the chat or email, whatever.
Thank you very much, Dominic. I will just check and see, have we any questions for you? And so far we do not, so we can maybe move on. And if anyone has questions, you can ask it anytime. So now up next is Leos, and Leos is going to talk to us about a new registration form.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent.
Let me share the screen. Okay, can you see my Foreman?
Yeah, small. Can you, or do you want to keep it?
I don't know.
Oh no, like do you? I can see your background. Do you want to? Do you want to make your?
This,
Do you want to make it?
like this?
Yes, perfect.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, as I said, or as you said, I'm going to talk about new registration form. So in Foreman 2.5, we finally merged redesigned new form. The main things, as you can see, is that is completely written in pattern fine 4. So really nice, shiny inputs and everything. What we also did is that we split the form into 2 tabs, general and advanced. That's because, some of the fields are really not necessary to have it on the main page. So this should be more user-friendly for the users. And also the biggest change comparing to the old form was that this one is completely written in React.js. So this gave us way more options what to do with the form and how to make it for user really better. So yes, that's the basic overview of what we did. And now I'll show you all the changes. So about the taxonomies, right now you can change directly taxonomies in the form. Previously, you were scoped to the selected taxonomies in the top menu, which wasn't really comfortable for the users. So right now you can select all of the options, all your organization's allocations, what you want. When you change the organization allocations, this will affect the fields in the form. So now you can see that, for example, I cannot select any host group. That's because in my organization DevOps, I don't have anyone. If I select default organization, you can see that I can select a host group. This is for all fields, or let's say for all resources that are scoped under the taxonomies. I believe that maybe operating systems are not affected because those one are not scoped under the taxonomies. So yeah, that was taxonomies. About host group, I'm going to talk later because there were more changes. So operating systems, for registration, if you want to specify operating system, let's say you're registering Ubuntu machine, every operating system has to have assigned a host initial configuration template. Users sometimes forget to assign it to the OS. So here, if you select operating system, we will show you that information about the signed template. So if I also, let's say, add my empty OS, you can see that operating system is not valid because the registration would fail with missing host initial config template. And as an invalid field, you should user and you can't generate a command. So yes, smart proxy insecure parameters, there haven't been any changes. So nothing new in the functionality. Host parameters, yeah, setup insights and setup remote execution. These two parameters, pretty self-explanatory. Setup rex is for deploying SSH keys on the host. Setup insights is for installing an insights client tool and start reporting through the Foreman or satellite. These two things are tightly connected to global parameters. As you can see, I have set these two global parameters on the level on true and true. And this value is changed also in the form. So let's say you don't want to install, try to install insights on Ubuntu host, right? Because insights are mainly, if I'm not mistaken, only for real machines, maybe CentOS, not sure right now. So you can override the parameters on the OS level. And as you can see here now, the value is by default inherits from a host parameter. No, it was yes before. I'll show you again. If I choose, let's say CentOS, it will go back to yes. So this is also more friendly for the user, so they know immediately what is the current value. Anyway, they still have option to say yes or no, no matter what the host parameter is saying. So yeah, that's about the parameters. Install packages. That's self-explanatory. If you want to install packages on the host, when it's registered, you just type the name of the packages and we will install them. The snippet in the template are recognized if you are using Debian or CentOS, so you doesn't have to care which package manager are you using. The template will solve the problem for you. That same goes for the repository and GPG key URL. This is useful for cases, for example, when you are registering with a subscription manager and you want to download it from a different repository than we provide from satellite, so you can specify the repository and the key, and template will it will be installed before the registration. These three fields, I forgot to say, are new ones. They are only in 2.5, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2.5. And so what is here next? Yes, token lifetime. New thing here is that the field can be set to unlimited. Also, what is new and is that the generated token for API authorization is now scoped only to registration endpoints. So if user, for example, will try to use that token, I don't know, I'll show you the token. I'm talking about this part, this crazy long part. This token right now is useful only for registration tokens, registration endpoints. So if you will, for example, try to create new host via API and you will try to authorize with this token, you will get unauthorized error with a message that the scope is not correct. So that's about token lifetime. Activation keys, yeah. It used to be just simple input field where users have to write the field the keys manually. Now it's a solid box with name of the key and with the lifecycle environment assigned to the key. And it's set as a mandatory, so you can see that without the field you cannot generate a command because the registration would probably fail. Not probably, definitely. Lifecycle environment, it's also self-explanatory. If you want to override the lifecycle environment, let's say you want to use key 1 for registration, but then you want to set lifecycle environment to QE, you can do it and it will work, I hope. And that's also lifecycle. I forgot to say that lifecycle environment is also a new field. activation keys, lifecycle environment, and these two fields are from Katello plugin. I forget to say, so if you will use Foreman instance without Katello, you won't see these 4 fields. And of course, if you don't have these fields, it will not say that you can generate the command without the activation keys, of course. And the last 2 commands, the last 2 new commands is ignore errors and force. These ones are tied to subscription manager tools. The first one is self-explanatory. If you run subscription manager and it will raise some error, I don't know, and you want to ignore it, you will use this command. And force is for running subscription manager register command with the first parameter, so you will override the data on the machine. And that was everything to new fields. What I want to talk about is the last field I skipped before, and that is host group. Host group is kind of special because you can inherit a lot of parameters from it. So here is my default host group, and as you can see, now at operating system field, I have information about OS from the host group, so I don't have to select the operating system manually. That same goes for the activation keys. There is information about that host group already have the keys. I can select another keys, so if I want to specify more than just from the host group, I can do it. And the same goes for the lifecycle environment. It can be used this one, or I can set it specifically and override it. So yeah, that was for the host group. And the last thing maybe I want to say is, yes, extensions from plugins. This form is extendable. So if you want to extend general fields or advanced, you just need to do it via slots. And for that, you can check the developer's documentations, where are the instructions, how to do it, and how to extend it from your plugin. And yes, that's everything from me.
Okay, Leos, thank you very much. There is just some questions that you might have answered as you progress, but just to clarify, there's a comment from Jeremy. Activation keys are extremely common for Katello content users. Do you have thoughts on moving it to a general tab? And also, how does the lifecycle environment behave when an activation key is also selected?
Yes, so the reason why activation keys are in the advanced step is that we want users to use the host groups. So if you select the host group with the activation key, all the data are inherited in the form, so you don't have to specify activation key again. But we discussed that, and right now we already had the discussions about if we want to move the keys to the general or to the advanced. And right now we decided, okay, let's go with the host groups. Let's have host group as a primary source of the data and information. And if users want to use activation key, don't want to use host groups, then we can move the field back to general. I think that's pretty easy to do. And for the second question, if I remember correctly, that was with lifecycle environment and activation keys, right? That was, a subscription manager. If you specify multiple activation keys for subscription manager, I think the last activation keys lifecycle environment wins. So yes, I believe that's it. Yeah, like this. If you specify, let's say, 3 activation keys, key 1, key 2, key 3, and so the final lifecycle environment of the host will be the lifecycle environment from the key 3.
Okay, doc. Yeah, there's just one reply. Just thanks for that. Basically, didn't realize that host groups can also set activation keys. So thank you very much, Leash. And if anyone has any other questions for Leash, you can ask, and I will ask them at the next interval. So thank you very much for that. And our next demo is from Andra, and it's about dashboard charts and their clickability. So your own time, Andra.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Today I would like to share just a quite easy fix, but with that I would like to spend a moment and talk about our dashboard page. That is definitely not the greatest dashboard of them all, but I believe it's very underrated, and maybe it's because of its default configuration, but or something else. And if you know why that is and would like to discuss, please come to our discourse and discuss that, how to make this page more relevant to users and more usable. So what dashboard is providing, here I have just 2 widgets that show status for my hosts. Only configuration status, but for all the configuration management tools, and I can easily filter out this information per domain, let's say, and I have this status for domain for this domain only, and I believe that's pretty cool and might be very useful. I'm quite missing out why the dashboard page doesn't have more love. So please share what are your thoughts about this and how we can improve the page so it's usable more and more useful for users. So in here I can add another chart, and it will just nicely show up here. And my fix that I wanted to share with you was that when we introduced new charts, we kind of forgot that these charts on the dashboards were clickable, and this click should take you to these hosts, to what hosts generated this portion of the chart. So I can click on the host that has no report, and I can see that it's this host. It's no report, and that's pretty useful, and it was broken for a while now, so yeah. Now it's working again. So if you have any ideas how to improve dashboard, let us know. Thanks. That's everything from me.
Thank you, Andra. So if anyone has any comments or suggestions or questions for Andra, you can ask now. And in the meantime, Leash, I was probably a small bit too quick, and Jeremy just wrote back with a clarification saying, what if an activation key has a lifecycle environment and you also set a lifecycle environment in the form?
I think the lifecycle environment will override the one from the activation key.
Thank you very much, Leash. So just if there are any... So if there are any more questions or comments for Andra, just ask them. We're always a little bit ahead, so if it comes in late, I will ask, so don't worry. So thank you very much, Andra. And so we move on to some Katello demos now. So our first demo is from Quirin, who is going to give us a demo of the Pulp 2.3 Debian content migration in Katello that is it's forthcoming. So Quirin, hopefully you have some better luck with your screen share than earlier, so in your own time.
Yeah, hello. So I think you should be able to see my screen now.
I can.
I want to talk about the 2 to 3 content migration for Debian content. And we just recently, with this merge request, added the needed database field so Katello can properly run content migrations for Debian content, just like for the other content types it already had. And I believe this will be part of the Katello 3.18.3 release. It's actually a pretty small change because it just adds one database field and everything else was already there. And so for the demo, I have a forklift installation that uses the tip of the Katello 3.18 branch. And it locked me out. So 1 second until I'm back here. And so, yeah, we can see this is Foreman version 2.3.3. And if we look for 3.18.0 in the installed packages, we can see that we have a bunch of Katello 3.18.0 packages installed. And also we can see that I have the Pulp Debian for Pulp 2 plugin installed, as well as the Pulp Debian for Pulp 3 plugin installed. And if we then look at the bundled smart proxy that comes with this installation, which I've already opened here, and look over to services, we see that deb content is currently still running on the Pulp feature, that is Pulp 2, while others like Dockerfile yum are already on Pulp core, that is Pulp 3. And the reason Debian content is still using Pulp 2 on this installation, despite of the fact that Pulp 3 is available, is because if I look at this configuration file for Katello I have here, I added this use Pulp 2 for content type Debian true override. Yes, and I already added some Debian content to this installation. So we have an example Debian repository, which is actually for Ubuntu, but that makes no difference. And it has 57 packages. It also doesn't matter what it is. I just needed a small size repository to sync. And for good measure, I created a content view, which includes this repository and the 75 Debian packages. And so now I can switch over to my console. And if we wanted to do in a production installation, we would use Foreman maintain commands to run the migration, which won't actually work in my development environment, but it's just a wrapper around a rake task that I can call. So here it will tell me what rake task I should actually be running. Exactly. So I will just go ahead and run that rake task for us. So this is just the rake task that runs before any actual migration and shows us what state the migration is currently in. And it won't actually tell us much of anything about Debian because it just looks at yum content for its, so we see here, we haven't migrated any RPMs and errata and repositories, so it estimates will take less than 5 minutes, but we're not actually interested in RPM content. So I'm just going to go ahead and just run the migration instead with this next command. And so that will probably take not too long because we don't have too many packages, but a little while. So while we wait for that to run, I will go back over here and quickly switch to the Katello user manual for 3.18, which shows the commands you need to run as a user for running content migrations, and this is the step we're on right now. And then I wanted to give some other important information on the state of things. So first of all, I said that this change would be available as part of Katello 3.18.3. But shortly after 3.18.3, we actually plan to release 3.18.4, which will mainly contain newer versions of the Pulp Debian plugin for Pulp 3, which means I suggest waiting until 3.18.4 comes out before running actual migrations. And the same is true for the migration plugin itself. So there was a new release for that recently on the Pulp side, which includes explicitly some Pulp Debian fixes, so for the Debian content migration. I don't know exactly what Katello version that will be in, but I imagine it will be in 3.13.3 or 3.13.4 as well. Right, now I'm just going to go check back and see whether this was all successful. And it's telling us we have migrated 57 of 57 Debian packages. And we can now do one more rake task, run a post-migration check. And I quickly need to check what the final command is, because I forgot to note it down. Yeah, I'm not exactly 100% sure what this post-migration check actually tells us. I guess there are scenarios where we could have synced some more content since the last time we ran the migration and now had new Pulp 2 content to migrate. But in this case, I'm just going to now run the Pulp 3 content switch over because we've migrated everything we had. And once that runs through, I should be able to see some change on my Smart Proxy Services tab here. So I'm just going to reload this page. Not sure if I need to, yeah. So now we see that the Debian content has moved down to Pulp core. So it's no longer using Pulp 2, it's using Pulp core. And it says supported but overridden to use Pulp 2. That is because I still have this override in my configuration file. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that now and restart my Foreman server. Which will probably take another little while, but once that has started up again, everything should be fully switched over to using Pulp 3. And we can continue to use our Debian content on Katello more or less seamlessly. However, we've completely switched the backend that is actually being used. And I say more or less seamlessly because I wanted to just remark one thing that isn't very nice vis-a-vis user experience that I have an open issue for but have not yet fixed. And that is, if you see, for example, here, these releases, components, architectures for Debian repositories, in Pulp 2, or Pulp 2 expects to have comma-separated lists like we see here for these fields, whereas Pulp 3 wants space-separated lists. And while the migration plugin will change this from comma to space for the underlying Pulp importers or for the underlying Pulp mode in Pulp 3 language, it won't actually change this in the Katello repository form. So the next time one updates this repository, one should right now manually switch this back to a space-separated list. Like I said, my preferred approach would be if users can provide either a comma or space-separated list, and Katello just silently switches it to the right thing underneath to have some continuity there between Pulp 2 and Pulp 3, but that doesn't exist yet. And the other caveat is that both the Pulp 3 Debian plugin and the 2.3 content migration have not received that much large-scale real-world testing. So I expect there will be a couple more releases with new bug fixes, and we will continue to work on those. Right, that's everything I wanted to show.
Thanks very much, Corinne. Does anyone have any questions? I don't think so far. So we might move on, Corinne. Thank you very much. And as always, people can ask when they will. So our next demo is from Ian, and he's going to talk to us about container gateway authenticated repo pulling.
All right, thanks, Melanie. Let me just share my screen. Okay, everything should all be set. Today I'll just be giving a quick demo. I've given a few demos before. You might have seen speaking about the container gateway, which is the new way to consume container content from Pulp 3 on your smart proxies. And I'm just giving this quick update to say that the final features have been developed and that the container gateway, for now at least, is considered feature complete. And we'd love to see people test it out. But the final feature that we had to work on was making sure that authenticated repo pulling worked. So before, you can only pull from repositories that didn't need to authenticate with Katello, but now we have that all set up. So let me just show you what I've got going on here. So in my Katello here, I have a product called Container Images, which has 3 repositories. It has Hello World container repo, it has a BusyBox, and then it has this node exporter repository. I also have some lifecycle environments. So I have one called public env and one called secure env. So secure env has unauthenticated pulling turned off, and public env has it turned on. And then I have a couple content view versions. So version 1.0 here is promoted to secure env, and it has all 3 of those repositories in it. And then version 2.0, which is in library and public env, only has hello world. And then I have my smart proxy here, which is CentOS7 proxy devel 2. And if we look at the edit page, I'll show you the lifecycle environments that I have. So no library, but public env and secure env are the environments that I'm syncing to the smart proxy. So I'll just show you here that it's working in the console. So if we just do a podman search right away, this is SSH into the proxy. So I'm just using this host name here. So if we podman search, I'm not logged in. We see that the only thing that pops up is the hello world one. And I'll show you the same with Docker search, because as part of this latest pull request that got merged in, the container gateway also now supports v2 and v1 search with authentication, and Docker uses v1. So you can see the same thing from Docker. So now if we log in, let's do a podman login for the admin user. If we do another podman search, we'll now see there are more repositories. So we have, you can see the busybox, and you can see the node exporter repositories here. And then I'll just do the same for Docker for completeness. Let's see, Docker login. So do a Docker search, and the same thing comes up. So V1 and V2 searching are both working. And then, just for the heck of it, we can try a podman pull. Let's do. We'll try this node exporter one. Great. So now we can do podman image ls, and then you can see the image in here. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to show on the container gateway. This is the final feature, and like I said before, I'd love to see people help test it out, and we can get any bugs squashed right away. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much, Ian. We'll just have a quick look, but I did not see any questions so far. And for now, we don't have anything, Ian. So because we're kind of a small bit pressing on time-wise, we might start the next demo, which is from Samir. And Samir is going to talk to us about content view, UI, versions, index, and package filter pages.
Thanks, Melanie. Let me share my screen here. All right. Under lab features, we have enabled the experimental content views UI, and I just wanted to share some more features that we worked on in the last sprint here. So the first part was the list page. We have added a couple of fields here, so you can see the last task, the latest version, and the environments that the latest version belongs to. It also has some details here for each of these content views, so the activation keys, hosts, and description. We also plan to add some additional details here, which will be added as we continue working on this. And if you go inside a couple of these, you can see more details about these content views. All right, so you can see all these tabs here. So we have the details tab, and we added this versions page here. So again, this versions page lists all the versions here. Let me go to another one. Yeah. So this will list all the versions you have, the environments, and when it was promoted to that environment. The packages here, errata is now a new field. Also gives you details about the number of security errata bugs, enhancements, etc. And additional contents you might have there. And the last thing I wanted to show was the filters page. This will list all the filters that you have. So here, for example, we have a package filter. And you can look for details here. So this will show you all the rules that are associated. And last thing here was, so this is a composite content view. This
I cannot hear you anymore, Samir. I don't know, is it just me?
we added in your on, and some more details about which versions you can go to. And yeah, that is pretty much it on this page for now.
Thank you, Samir. We lost you just for a few seconds. Your audio wasn't coming through, but I don't think it was for very long. I don't see any questions at the moment. Let me see. No, nothing. So thank you very much, Samir, and we will move on to, we have, that's the end of our user focus demos. So we have 2 Foreman developer focus demos now. So the first one is from Andra, and Andra will talk to us about React charts, clickable.
Yeah, so hello again. So I will just reshare so we all know what we are talking about while fixing the click-through on dashboard. This behavior, basically, that it will take you to page with a search per field. I've introduced this ability to all charts, so someone might find it useful. So how it's done, you can take a look at the component for dashboard. It's status chart widget, and here donut chart, and the data are processed in the get overview helper function, and that's in dashboard helper. And the relevant part is the search URL and search filters. So the search URL is URL where we can add this ugly looking val, and this will be replaced in UI by the filter that's relevant for the clicked value, and the proper value is determined from the filters. So the key of the filter needs to be the column that you are clicking on, or the data point. In donut chart, it's not a column, it's the slice. So it has to have the same label as the data point, and then you just fill in the proper value for that should be replaced in here. If you wanna dig a little bit deeper for the component, it's the prop search URL search filters that gets passed to get donut chart config. This might get a little bit refactored when we transfer to Patternfly 4 charts, but the idea will be probably very similar. And we just distilled this to onClick function that takes the element and finds the and navigate to the search URL, passing the searches and that data point. So if you need a click-through chart, this might be useful for you. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Andra. We can go straight ahead to the final demo for today, which is from Amir, and Amir is going to talk to us about updating the existing API data from the API middleware. And if you have any questions for Andra, you can ask them in the meantime, and I will ask them together at the end if there are any. So in your own time, Amir.
Hello everyone, let me just share my screen, just a second. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Great. So let's start. So today, basically, I would like to show you a new feature that allow consumers to override the API store. Big words. Let's start with some background. Basically, the API store is created behind the scenes by the API middleware. As you can see in this attached screenshot, the API store is basically a key value pairs data structure. Each key has a payload, response, and a status. And it's part of our Redux store. It's really important to keep this, as you know, all of the Redux store as one source of truth. So therefore, we should avoid any kind of data duplications and stuff like that. So basically, when we want to do an API call, we just create, we use the API middleware. In this example, we use the use API hook, which behind the scenes, of course, add a key value pair. We get the results, the status, and the key. And as you can see here, the key is calculated by runtime, and because we just get it, we don't set it. So this is just a background how to use the API middleware for getting resources. So in this example, we get a resource list, but what about update this list? For example, we want to delete one resource in this list. So we can do another post request in order to change, to alter the server side. And after that, we can do another get request in order to get the up-to-date resource list to update the client side, to update this API store. But with just a redundant API call, we can do both in one request. So introducing the update data callback. It's a new callback inside the API middleware. You can use it on every request. In this example, it's in a post request. So this callback modifies the response only after a success API call. So let's have a look deeper on this callback. This callback gets two arguments. One is the previous response data, as you can see here, which means it's the same, it's the data itself from the response, only the data, not the payload, not the status, just the data. And also the current response from the corresponding response. Be aware that you should use the same key. If we need to update this resource from this hook with this key, we should use the same key here if we want to override the store, the corresponding key value pair. So in this example, I basically want to delete one resource, and the update data callback needs to return the updated response data. So as you can see here, I just filter out, I'm using both of the arguments, and I filter out the item that I want to be removed. So in one request, I also update the server side with the post request, and I also update the client side, the API store, with the update data. So basically, this has two use cases. One is, of course, to override an existing API resource, like I mentioned here. And the other, which is in rare cases, only to modify the data format when it can't be done in the server side. So you can use the updated data to update the format, to change the format, but of course it should be only in rare cases when you cannot change that in the server side, because if you can do that in the server side, it's much better, to have already the formatted data. Or if it's something not permanent, if you need to do some calculations, don't use this approach. Use selectors, don't use the update data. So the update data is basically only for override existing resource in the store, and also to modify some data format when it cannot be done in the server side. So that's all I have to share for today. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, please you can reach me by email, by IRC, and thanks for listening.
Thanks very much, Amir. I suppose we're a little over time compared to normal, so I would just, first of all, I would like to thank everybody who came along and demoed today. I would like to thank you for your questions also on the live stream. And just a reminder that if you do have any feedback for Maria and the UX team, please complete the survey in the description of this video. That would be very helpful. Thank you all very much for your time, and we will see you in a few weeks. Take care. Okay.